Alrighty, so Black Widow is finally out in theaters after like almost 2 years of delays, and I saw it and it made me sad. And to clarify, it didn't make me sad in a, oh man, this character's never coming back, what a great conclusion to her arc kind of way, but more of a, oh man, they decided to put this in theaters? Kind of way. And like my first thought was to just make a speedrun video about this, get it out of the way, but I've got so many fucking thoughts about Black Widow that I didn't want to restrict myself to a 2-minute time frame. So I guess I'm just gonna talk about it. I'm gonna try and do this without spoiling anything, but to be honest, there's really not much here to spoil. So let's start. To begin with, I'd like to list some of the things that I did enjoy, because this movie, it's got some stuff going for it. It's got some stuff going for it. First of all, the 4 main characters in this movie are all pretty well done. David Harbour and Rachel Weisz's characters feel a bit static and overall very one-note, but they serve their purpose for the story. And of course, Scarlett Johansson is back as Natasha Romanoff, doing that same static face she always does, while every now and then pausing to force out a smile or a frown or a grimace. But the real standout of this movie is Florence Pugh. Florence fucking Pugh. Florence Pugh, in my eyes, can do no wrong. She's an amazing young actress, and at just 25 years old, she already has a plethora of fantastic roles under her belt. And in this movie, though the script is lacking in overall quality, Florence still pretty much delivers. She gives an amazing, emotional performance, and like every time she was on screen, I was thoroughly invested in whatever the fuck she was doing. And on top of the actors, the first act of this movie is pretty good. They launch from a really well put together action scene into a really cool opening credit sequence, and we get a lot of good story beats and exposition in a creative way that doesn't rely on like word of mouth. Then we cut to 20 years later and Natasha is living her best life in Norway. I mean, come on, just fucking look at that view! But then suddenly she's roped into an adventure when she's attacked by the mysterious Taskmaster, and she and her sister go off on a quest to take down a shadowy organization of assassins. And I gotta say, the first 30 to 40 minutes of this movie are really strong. It's paced well, it feels different from other Marvel movies, it's got hints of a lot of cool character work, 1 or 2 badass action scenes, and it sets up a pretty cool story from the get-go. And all in all, that's what you want your first act to do, right? However, pretty much the second they get to this location, the movie just kind of goes... Like, seriously, it is almost jarring how sudden the decline in quality is. The editing goes from fairly competent to just utterly abysmal, the sound design just decides to take a walk, and the camera work is just kind of static shot to static shot to static shot. It reminded me of the theatrical cut of Justice League, because all throughout that movie you could tell which parts were directed by which director, and it was constantly clashing with itself. Except in Black Widow, it felt like the first 40 minutes were directed by someone competent, and the next hour and a half was directed by, well, Joss Whedon, which, according to Scarlett Johansson, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Moment, and Joss Whedon, an incredible screenwriter, joke writer, and storyteller.
And Joss Whedon, an incredible screenwriter, joke writer, and incredible screenwriter, joke writer, and storyteller.
But seriously though, not even an ounce of me is joking when I say that the minute the second act began, I started to dislike the movie, and it only got worse after this scene. Jokes fell flat, went on too long, the CGI looked plastic, and the story just kind of threw itself out the window. And oh my god, I have got to talk about the most disappointing thing in this movie. Fucking Taskmaster! If there is anyone out there watching this video right now that hasn't seen the movie yet, I am warning you. Do not get excited to see Taskmaster's MCU debut. Set your expectations as low as they can go. Put your fucking expectations on the bottom of the barrel and then throw the barrel in the ocean and let it sink, and then that should probably be enough to prepare you for the MCU Taskmaster. Because, oh my god, Taskmaster is literally such a nothing antagonist. Like, Taskmaster has absolutely no presence in this movie. If you've seen all the trailers, then you have literally seen every scene with Taskmaster in it. They gave this motherfucker less than 3 minutes of screen time, but marketed the movie like Taskmaster was the villain. And listen, I'm not one of those freaking comic accuracy nerds who flips my shit and cries whenever Peter Parker doesn't mention Uncle Ben every 8 minutes. If you want to make a change to a character, great, go ahead. But guys, Feige, baby, if you're gonna try and make such a drastic change to a comic version of a character, you have to at least try to make it good. Like, if y'all could turn these motherfuckers into these motherfuckers and make it work, how hard could this have been? How did you let the terrible Avengers video game do it better than you? Come on! Before any of you freak out and go, but this Russian guy whose name I can't remember was the main villain. He was just using Taskmaster. I don't care. I do not care. They marketed the movie with Taskmaster in all the trailers. They marketed the movie with Taskmaster as the main villain. I expected to see Taskmaster fuck some shit up. And also, don't try to act like this guy was a good villain either. That man was absolutely fucking nothing. I'm just saying, Marvel has set the bar pretty high with their villains in the past, but fucking excuse me for expecting a good antagonist in a superhero movie, I guess. That's my bad. On top of that, the entire second and third act just feels like such a nothing movie. It has absolutely no tension. The climax felt just like another action scene, and then the movie just kind of ends? Like, when I tell you the ending comes out of nowhere, I mean it comes out of fucking nowhere. That shit was abrupt. I used to get on the Fast and Furious movies about ending their movies immediately after their action scenes ended, but Black Widow just elevates that shit to a whole nother level. But at the end of the day, this movie is all about
Family.
Family. It's family.
It's about family. And does it succeed in pushing those themes home? Kinda, sorta. The message is definitely there, but the emotional core just felt lacking. Florence Pugh was really trying, but outside of her character's actions, I just didn't feel like these people gave a shit about each other at all. I mean, for God's sake, these two essentially sold their children to human traffickers and we're supposed to root for them? What? I don't know, man. I wanted to like Black Widow, I really did, but so much of it was just comprised of lackluster storytelling and sloppy filmmaking. Add that to the fact that making a prequel about a character who is already dead in canon is a very risky game to begin with. Natasha's death in Endgame was a fitting end to her character and the way she was presented in those movies, and Black Widow didn't really feel like it added anything to make that moment more impactful. If I'm being honest, this whole movie just kind of felt like a 2-hour story to explain this fucking vest she wears in Infinity War. And if we're being honest, the vest had more screen time and more plot relevance than Taskmaster. But hey, if people like Black Widow, I'm happy for them. I've seen it get a lot of praise online, and I'm happy it scratched a lot of people's itches. Personally, I'm just kind of glad to see the MCU back in theaters where it belongs. The shows they've been producing are pretty great, but nothing really beats that feeling that so much of us have become accustomed to of just going to a theater and watching a superhero movie. I hope the MCU projects we've got coming to us in the future are good, because goddamn, they've got a lot of stuff they're shoveling out. And whenever those do come out, I will inevitably be here to contribute to the discussion by making low-budget YouTube videos on them. But until then, this is Triple M signing off.